The skin and beauty benefits, Azra, are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the benefits of collagen. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. I often call collagen the longevity molecule because
Hello and welcome to the Biohacker Podcast. I'm Azra Alagic, your host and founder of Biohacker. I'm an integrative nutrition health coach specializing in longevity for women, a health and wellness journalist, writer, corporate consultant, and a biohacking advocate. Biohacker is a space where we can explore ways to optimize our health to live well longer. Whether it's through improving our nutrition, exercising, cryotherapy, supplementation, technology, and more, I'll be bringing you information and interviews with the best longevity experts to help you understand what you can do to optimize your health, prevent disease, and slow down or even reverse the symptoms of aging by taking control of your unique bio-individuality. Want to know more? Let's dive in. Hey guys, before we jump into the next episode, I wanted to take a quick moment of your time to tell you about the next Live Well Longer retreat that I'll be co-hosting with Camilla Thompson. If you've been feeling the pull to pause, reset, and reconnect with the woman you're becoming, then this is your moment. Join us for the next Live Well Longer retreat, which will be held from the 1st to the 6th of May in 2026 at the beautiful Reviva Resort in Bali. This isn't just a holiday. It's a transformational experience designed to help you reset your biology, restore your balance, and reimagine what aging well truly means. Across 6 days, you'll immerse yourself in restorative practices, nourishing food, movement, workshops, deep rest, and soul-level connection with a community of like-minded women who are all committed to living well longer. It's the kind of retreat that stays with you long after you return home. The clarity, the shifts, the confidence, the reconnection to your healthiest, most grounded self. If you're ready to invest in your well-being and step into a new chapter feeling renewed and inspired, I'd love you to join us. Register your interest now at livewelllongerretreats.com. Spots are limited. Now on to the podcast. Lauren, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. It's great to see you, Azra.
Fabulous. Look, I've been so excited to have you on. I think that we're going to have lots to discuss today because we're going to be having a chat about all things collagen. And I really want to do some myth busting later as well. But let's dive in. What actually happens in the body when we ingest collagen? And does it really reach the skin, hair, and nails, or is that just pure marketing hype?
That's a great place to start. So when we ingest collagen as a supplement, as a powder or a liquid, we ingest it, it's digested, and it makes its way through the gut into the bloodstream where it's then distributed all over the body, but it does actually make its way to the skin. So we have research that shows not only is it absorbed, which is a myth that I would love to bust with you a little bit later on. Not only is it absorbed, but we do see those collagen peptides in the plasma for several hours after collagen has been taken. So it definitely makes it. The question is all around absorption, whether it can be absorbed. That's the question.
And so am I hearing that different parts of the body absorb the collagen in different ways, or is that what you're referring to there in terms of the absorption?
So more around, that's probably the critical factor between different collagen products is the body's ability to absorb it, because what's really important is the size of the peptide, and the smaller the size of the peptide. So when we start talking di and tri-peptides. Actually, let me take a step back for your audience.
Yeah, let's do that. What's di and tri-peptides? I was going to say.
Before we go down there, let me start with that. So collagen is a protein, and collagen and proteins are made up of various amino acids. And so peptides are long chains that are joined together to make a protein. And amino acids form the peptides. So we can think amino acids are the very basic units of proteins. When they join together, they form a peptide, and several chains, long chains of peptides join together to form a protein. So at its most basic form, a dipeptide is just 2 amino acids joined together. And same with a tripeptide is 3 amino acids joined together. And in dipeptide and tripeptide form, they're able to pass through the gut lining intact, make it into the bloodstream, and that is what triggers the collagen production in special cells called fibroblasts in the skin.
And why is it important for it to pass through the gut in that way, other than for the fact that it translates in that way? Are there other reasons for that?
So the body will always break collagen down into smaller peptides for absorption. That's what it will always do. The reason why I'm highlighting the tri-peptides is because if they're able to pass directly through, they are really what is determining how effective your collagen supplement will be. Mm-hmm. Because the tri-peptide, we're hearing a lot about peptides recently. I'm sure you are in your research and with other guests that you might have on. Peptides are really powerful, and the collagen tripeptides, they are what is working the collagen's magic in our body, because once we ingest them, they are sending signals to the body to start producing more collagen. They're sending very specific signals to the body. So it's not really about how collagen provides us with building blocks per se. It's more about those tripeptides in specific sequences and how they behave once they're in the bloodstream and the different signaling properties that they have.
Okay, so when we think about collagen in society, we often think it's just all about beauty and skin and hair and nails and so on. Is it just about that, or does collagen have far greater benefits other than that?
The skin and beauty benefits, Azra, are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the benefits of collagen. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. I often call collagen the longevity molecule, because outside of the skin, it's actually implicated in so many different tissues that are associated or necessary for healthy aging. So let's park the skin, joints, bone, muscle, hair, even the brain, the epithelial lining, or the lining, the membranes that line our blood vessels. All of those things are really, collagen is found predominantly in all of those tissues. So if we're thinking about, or if we're concerned about healthy aging, then we need to be thinking about how we can maintain and sustain the integrity of our collagen, because that's going to help us age really well into our later decades.
And assumedly that depletes as we age. The collagen in those body parts depletes as we age, which is why we need to supplement. Is that correct?
Well, we absolutely do see age-related collagen loss from as early as our mid-20s, actually. So beginning around then, we see about a 1% decline every year in our body's endogenous collagen production. Once we hit middle age, and for women, the picture gets a little bit more dire, because estrogen and collagen,
of course it does,
have a really close relationship. Estrogen plays a really significant role in regulating collagen production. So for women, as we approach middle age and we start going through the menopause transition, as estrogen starts to decline, then that accelerates our collagen loss around that time. And we lose a further 30% in the 5 years following the menopause transition. So it is a really critical window where I think collagen supplementation, and not just I think, the research supports this, can play a really important role in bridging that gap between our natural production and what we need to thrive and support all of our tissues in the body.
So how does collagen synthesis change as women move through in various life stages like perimenopause and menopause?
Well, it's that interaction with estrogen that I was speaking about before. So when estrogen is high, when we're ahead of the menopause transition, that really supports our fibroblasts. So the fibroblasts you can think of as the machinery that produce collagen throughout the body. Estrogen supports the production of collagen in the fibroblast. It also reduces specific enzymes called matrix metalloproteinase, or MMP enzymes. And what they do is break collagen down. Estrogen is also protective in the sense that it's a really potent antioxidant. And it also supports hyaluronic acid production as well. So we can see this picture of estrogen being really protective for our collagen production. So as that starts to decline, all of those protective factors go away, and that's how we see that accelerated loss during the menopause transition.
Right. And so when we're looking at collagen, is all collagen the same? Because we hear a lot again in the industry about marine collagen versus bovine collagen. What are your thoughts on this? And what, more importantly, what does the research show as well?
There's a few different factors to consider. So as you mentioned, we have marine, we have bovine, we have porcine, there's even collagen from chicken. So there's many different sources. There are slight differences between the different sources. Marine collagen tends to have a lower molecular weight relative to other sources. So the size of the peptides generally are smaller, say, compared to bovine or porcine. However, the most important thing is the size of the peptide. So in proteins, the unit of measurement that we use to measure proteins is Daltons. And collagen in its native form, raw collagen, is a really, really big molecule, which is why there's skepticism around whether it can be absorbed. But many collagen supplements should be hydrolyzed. And hydrolyzed is a way of cutting those long chains of proteins. Imagine a pair of scissors, and hydrolysis is scissors that are cutting those big long chains of proteins and peptides into much smaller little pieces that the body can then absorb. So if raw collagen was 300,000 Daltons, which is huge, following hydrolyzation, the peptides then become less than 1% of that size. They're on average 2,000 Daltons, which means that the body is able to absorb, and use that collagen into something that can be absorbed. So I say that in hydrolyzed collagen is the most important thing, because once it's broken down to that size, we still see minor benefits of marine over other sources. But once it's hydrolyzed, those differences start to go away. So for the audience, a hydrolyzed collagen is the most critical thing to look for, because that is what is ultimately going to determine how effective that collagen product will be for you.
Regardless of its source, or whether it's an animal source or whether it's a marine source, yeah. So what if people are looking on a particular product, what should they be looking for on the back when they're shopping around?
Yeah.
Give us some tips.
That's a great question. And I think with the exploding awareness and excitement and emerging science that we're continuing to see around collagen, we're also seeing a huge influx of new brands and collagen products on the market. So as a consumer, I can imagine that it would be really hard to try and figure out what the difference is. So hydrolyzation, first and foremost, is the most important thing, because if the body can't absorb it, it can't use it. And if you're investing your money, you want to make sure that it's of a quality and of a size that the body can use. The second thing that I would recommend is just finding a brand that you trust. With this influx of new brands and new products, the variation in quality is pretty significant. So I would say find a science-backed brand that you trust, and ideally a brand that has clinical studies to support the efficacy and the benefits of their products. And then dosing, there's no real evidence that any dose above 10 grams is necessary. So when we look at the research, the dosing range is from 2.5 grams up to 10 grams. The most commonly used dose is 5 grams, but you will see results with as little as 2.5 per day. So dose is important. And then just quality testing. You want a high quality product with no fillers, and ensuring that the brand tests for impurities and things like heavy metals.
Yeah, and heavy metals is an important one, I think, because we're already exposed to so many toxins and chemicals in our day-to-day environment. What about the actual source of the collagen, whether it comes from overseas or whether it's Australian source? Is that a consideration as well?
Yes and no. I mean, for us, I can speak for us at Vida Glow. We source our collagen. It's an upcycled ingredient from fish skins that would otherwise be discarded as waste. So we're able to upcycle that product and transform it into a premium collagen product. Sourcing will matter in the sense that it may increase or decrease that heavy metal or toxin load, but at the same time, a lot of the time that is managed during the manufacturing process.
So when you say it's managed during the manufacturing process, what do you mean by that? How is it managed during the manufacturing process?
Through purification, and through the purification process and testing, a company should make sure that there's no residual toxins left in the product before it goes to market.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'd like to take a step back regarding some of the benefits of collagen, because you mentioned various parts of the body that benefit from collagen. I'd like to do a deeper dive into those. So let's start off with the brain if we can. How does collagen specifically support cognition or the brain overall?
This is more of an emerging area of research. So the skin and the beauty benefits are absolutely at the top. They're the most studied. So in the hierarchy of evidence, when we look at benefits in the brain, this is very much an emerging area. But there is collagen in the extracellular matrix of the brain, and there are small studies that show that supplementing with collagen helps to support the integrity of the brain. There's neuroprotective effects. We also see some small benefits to cognition. This was a very small study, but when they gave a pen and paper test on memory called the MMSE, or mini mental state exam, they saw small but significant benefits to memory and cognition. So it's encouraging, but too early to be sure. We need more research in the brain space.
Okay. And joints. You mentioned joints as well. I know that I've benefited from collagen in improving my joint health for sure, but that's anecdotally, so that's me. What does the research show?
Well, the research says something quite similar. We see that in tendinopathy or arthritis, a significant reduction in pain scores and functionality with chronic supplementation of collagen. And when I say chronic, I mean, 12 to 24 weeks of supplementation. So you do need to stick with it for a lot longer to enjoy the maximum benefits that collagen can provide when it comes to joints. And the dose is much higher. So the doses range from 15 to 25 grams in the clinical studies, so much higher than what we see for skin anti-aging, but some really promising results there for joint health.
Yeah, great, because I think there are a lot of people that would suffer from joint pain and joint deterioration as they age. Gut health as well. I know that there's been some studies that show how beneficial collagen is for gut health. Walk us through how, and again, the dosages as well that people would need to take to be able to see some improvement in gut health.
Gut health is also less clear, but we do see benefits most likely because of the glycine, the high glycine content that is in collagen supplements. So the amino acid glycine can really help with the gut barrier integrity and also the mucosal lining as well. And we do see benefits for gut health. Again, there's some clinical studies, but we need more to be sure around dosing and length of treatment and things like that. But because there's such a high glycine content in collagen supplements, glycine is really beneficial to the gut mucosa and the integrity of the gut barrier. So we think mechanistically that's why collagen is so supportive. And even when we think about things like bone broth and gelatin, and we eat a lot of muscle meat now, but previously we ate a lot more of the animal and we were consuming a lot more glycine in a dietary sense. So we know historically that those foods are really good for the gut, and these preliminary clinical studies are supporting that. But again, we need some more research in the gut health space specifically.
Yeah, I understand what you mean there, because I know with my cultural heritage, I remember my grandmother's making soups and everything. And for instance, if it's chicken soup, they'd be pretty much putting the whole chook in there, bones and all,
Yeah.
and everything. And the same with beef or lamb as well. And I suppose it's because of the bones that's in those broths or stews or whatever, and that's where we're getting the benefits out of those particular whole animal type meals, for want of a better way of describing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when we're looking at longevity and cellular repair, do we see collagen playing any significant role in that space, other than when we're talking about what we've talked about, gut health and joints and so on? But overall, from a longevity perspective and cellular repair, does collagen have a role there?
There's two parts to this answer. So I think it depends how we define longevity, because for me, longevity, we can talk about lifespan and health span. And I think health span is really what is the most important part of the conversation. And for me, health span means maintaining functionality independence and mobility right into the last decade of our lives. And if we think about that, I think collagen plays a really integral role in supporting all of those things because of the role that it plays in those tissues we discussed earlier that are all really implicated in that healthy aging process at a cellular level. So I think collagen is more about regeneration and restoration. But at the molecular level, the evidence is not really there. There is some emerging evidence where people are starting to look into the molecular impacts of collagen. And there's been a couple of small industry-funded studies that have looked at collagen supplementation on DNA methylation clocks, which is a really common tool that we're seeing in the research to measure biological age. And we have seen some small improvements there of between 1 and 3 year reversal of biological age. So there's some encouraging preliminary research, but again, still very much in its infancy. So we need more research. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but we need more research to know definitively.
No, I appreciate your honesty about it, because I think it's important for our listeners to understand where we're at with the clinical research and whether there is, as you've just highlighted, more studies, more research required to be able to confirm some of the findings. We're just on the clinical research. Is this done in mice or is it human clinical research? And if it is human, is it done in women, on women, or just men? Because we know there's a history of a lot of clinical research just being done on men and excluding women. So I'm curious to know where we're at with collagen research and how inclusive that is of women if it's human clinical trials.
I love that you've asked that question, and that's something I'm particularly interested in, and I won't rant on about it, but
No,
it is.
Go for it.
It's just really difficult to believe that it was only over 30 years ago that it was mandated for women to be included in clinical research.
Mm-hmm.
To think most of the things we know about biology and medicine come from studies in men is quite mind-blowing, actually.
I know it is. I talked about it in my keynote at Wanderlust Wellspring recently about how the FDA only recently in recent terms, when I say recently, it's 1993 that they approved women be included in clinical trials, which, like you said, is absolutely mind blowing. And when we think about that, everything prior to that was probably any sort of treatment, any medication is being developed essentially for men, but it's being prescribed to women as well. And you have to wonder, has that done any damage to women over time? I don't know.
My feeling is yes, because, well, if we look at the brain, for example, women are essentially considered a new frontier when it comes to neuroscience. When we look at the female brain and even menopause and how the female physiology ages and what happens through menopause has always been through a strictly reproductive lens, if at all. So there's just so much that we don't know. So I love that you're bringing awareness to this as well, Azra, because so many people aren't aware, and there's so much research that needs to be done in women. But to answer your question, this is probably the one category where women are excellently represented, particularly when it comes to the skin health research, because the large majority of clinical studies looking at collagen supplementation in the skin is done in women average age between 45 to 65. So we're very well represented in that research. When it comes to clinical studies in joints, the population or the samples that they use are more mixed. So a good mix of men and women, or athletes typically in those studies. When we look at clinical studies for bone health, which is something we haven't really touched on, but collagen supplementation also has some really good benefits for bone mineral density. This is another thing that we as women need to be quite concerned about as we approach middle age, again, because of that relationship between estrogen and bone health. And the risk of fracture goes up significantly for us at this time. So there's some good research showing that collagen can support bone mineral density, and that is all in postmenopausal women. So there's a really good representation of women in the literature for collagen supplementation, which is great. So we can feel confident that the results translate to us.
That's really reassuring to hear and so nice to hear as well that we are represented appropriately in these clinical trials for once in something. What about ethnic profile? Does your ethnic heritage influence collagen absorption at all? It might be a random question, but I'm just curious about that because I know that there are certain cultures that have more health issues around particular things than other cultures do. And that could be for a variety of reasons. But I'm curious to see whether that has a factor to play here.
That's such a great question. And to my knowledge, that study hasn't been done. We do know that the aging trajectory is different for different ethnic backgrounds. For example, Caucasian women tend to age faster than, say, Asian women. Asian women, the line is more linear with then a steeper drop-off later in life, whereas Caucasian women, we see that is a little bit more linear, for example. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to collagen absorption or production, as far as I'm aware, that study hasn't been done comparing different ethnic backgrounds and their response to treatment, for example.
Okay. Can collagen supplementation genuinely influence markers of biological age or skin elasticity that's in measurable ways? Have you seen that in the research that you've done?
There's very robust research to show that it can influence. So markers of biological age, not so much outside of that study that I mentioned previously where that was measured. But if we're talking about clinical markers like skin elasticity, like skin hydration, fine lines and wrinkles, those visible signs of skin aging, then the literature is really, really robust, actually. If we're talking skin elasticity, there was a systematic review published by Pu et al. A couple of years ago, and they looked at this exact question. So they looked at all of the randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trials, which is the gold standard of clinical research, and they combined all of the available clinical studies that used hydrolyzed collagen peptides to assess markers of skin aging. So very, very specific to this exact question. And what they found across all of the studies was that collagen supplementation significantly and consistently was superior to placebo in enhancing skin elasticity and skin hydration. And the clinical significance was also high, because sometimes when we look at studies, something can be statistically significant, but if we look at the clinical relevance, it's not that meaningful. So that's what I thought was really profound about this review, was that it showed that not just statistical significance, but the effect sizes showing clinical relevance were also really dramatic. So we can feel really confident in the impact of collagen supplementation on skin markers of skin aging.
So ladies can rest assured that if they are taking a collagen supplement, it's not just going to end up being expensive pee, that it's actually going to translate in their skin, right?
They will see benefits. One thing I will say though is it's a marathon and not a sprint, lady.
I was going to ask that. Yes. Can you please explain that a little bit further? Because you mentioned previously about, I think it was with joint health, that you have to stay in for the long haul. It was 20-something plus weeks. Is it the same with skin?
It's similar. So it's not going to take as long to see results. When we look at the clinical studies, you'll see results within 8 to 12 weeks. We hear anecdotally from our community at Vida Glow that often nail strength and nail health is the first thing that people notice when they start supplementing with collagen. They might be at the nail salon more regularly, which is a good problem to have, or they're noticing less breakage and things like that, or thicker hair. That's all anecdotal. And you don't need any more hair.
No, I've actually noticed since I started taking the Vida Glow, and look, admittedly, my hair does grow fairly quickly, but it's gone next level growth. It's got so long, and somebody commented on it the other day that, wow, your hair's just got so long since I've seen you a couple of weeks ago. And I definitely think it's because of the Vida Glow. I mean, this is crazy how quickly it's grown. So I definitely need to get to the hairdressers to get a trim.
Another not so bad problem to have. Nice hair growth. But yeah, about 8 to 12 weeks is where we really see those clinical benefits start to come out. So I really encourage people to stick with it, and consistency is the key to seeing results. You can't really afford to dibble dabble in it and not be consistent, because if you're going to invest, try and make sure you're having it every day, because that's where you'll see the best results. Stick it next to your coffee machine or something and pop it in your coffee. You won't forget.
And you can put it in anything, right? You can put it in your coffee, you could put it in your smoothie. Do you have to, is that okay? You can put your collagen in smoothies. That's how I do it anyway.
I think the most important part is getting it in. So if that means putting it in your smoothie, then yes, absolutely. You can put it in your coffee and tea. It's heat stable. I'm speaking about our products. Now I can't speak for other brands, but our collagen products at Vida Glow are heat stable up to 150 degrees. So you don't need to worry about it being impacted in hot beverages. But yeah, to the consistency point, getting it in is the most important thing. So find a way that you could really easily assimilate that into your lifestyle, so it just becomes a part of your daily routine.
Are there key cofactors or nutrients that have to be present for collagen to be effectively synthesized? And do most people get enough of them? And on the flip side as well, is there anything that would counteract the effectiveness of collagen that we need to be aware of?
So when we're thinking cofactors, vitamin C first and foremost is a really important one. In the process of collagen synthesis, vitamin C plays a really critical role as a cofactor in a process called hydroxylation. Mm-hmm. And we see in cell studies, there's a cell study that showed that collagen in the presence of vitamin C increased production or increased collagen synthesis by 8x. So it's really, really critical. That process can't happen without vitamin C. So that really becomes important if someone's not getting enough dietary vitamin C through fresh veggies or fruits or anything like that. Minerals like zinc and manganese and copper are also really important cofactors. People tend to be more mineral deficient than vitamin C deficient. So taking a good quality mineral supplement might be something that people want to consider alongside. And then in terms of anything that's contraindicated with collagen, there is none that I'm aware of. It's a protein. So there's nothing that you need to really be aware of that might inhibit or reduce its absorption, because it's really common dietary food, essentially.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let's do some myth busting.
Yeah.
Well, what's the biggest myth about collagen that you wish would just disappear?
There's many. There's many. I think the biggest one that I'm faced with often is the question around absorption. Does it actually get into the bloodstream? Does it actually work? Is it just a scam? And I think we've covered that off in quite a bit of detail today, but it can be absorbed if the peptide size is small enough. And there is research to show that not only is it absorbed, there's studies that use radio-labeled isotopes to follow the collagen peptides journey through. This is in mice, but we do see that not only it's absorbed, but it's preferentially shuttled to the skin, and it does actually make its way and get incorporated into the skin. So I do wish that that would go away, because there's some pretty good research to show that it does get absorbed, and the clinical research speaks for itself in terms of efficacy.
Because there has been a little bit in the media recently about whether it is absorbed or not. It's interesting to see that coming through more recently, given that there is science to say that it is absorbed. What are your thoughts on why that's recently surfaced in the media, and is it just hype or scaremongering?
I think it's probably coming from very well-intentioned people. There are a lot of bad products in the market, and there are people who are looking to make money out of people's desire to look and feel better. I just think that these types of big, sweeping, generalized statements, for me, that just indicates a lack of nuance and a lack of depth of understanding or interpretation of what the literature actually says, because that's not what the science says.
Yeah. With just on the peptides, you've made quite a lot of reference to the importance of that in terms of the absorption. Is that on the product? Can you actually check on the product as to the peptide size and whether it's going to be absorbed by your body or not?
Unfortunately not. That's not something that brands regularly put on their labels. You would actually have to reach out to them and ask them about this information, and hopefully they're able to give it to you. And that's probably because it's a difficult concept to explain clearly on a label in a way that makes sense to the consumer. But unfortunately, because it's such an important factor, it also makes it hard to make a good decision around which product to invest in when you've got tens and tens of products in front of you and you're trying to discern which is the best one for you.
Yeah, because the market is quite saturated, isn't it? And so it would be great if that important information was specified on the product so that people could make an informed decision about the quality of the product that they're selecting and then consuming. All right, myths. Let's get back to that. So we've talked about absorption. What other myths are out there that you think that we need to debunk?
More is better. So there's a bit of a myth that taking more and more, and this is not just for collagen, I think we see this across the board when it comes to supplements, but more is not always better. And when we look at the research, we don't really see significant benefit above and beyond 10 grams when it comes to skin benefits. So I think staying within the proven dosage range means that you're not going to go through your product as fast. You'll save money, and you're not really having more than necessary to get the results that you're after.
Despite individual biology, sorry, I'm going to challenge that a little bit, is just because we are so bi-individual, I'm curious as to whether individual biology plays a role in how we absorb. And I guess that would also come down to nutrient absorption, how great your gut health is, and so on as well. But just curious on your thoughts on that.
I 100% agree with you. We are all very individual, and all of those factors are going to influence how we absorb, how we metabolize, how we break things down. And again, we don't really have, so whilst there are many strengths in the research, there's also a lot of gaps as well. And dosing studies like that, which perhaps might look at different, dosing based on someone's weight, for example, or dosing requirements based on different ages, and understanding how we need to tighter or increase or decrease dosing based on, there's so many things that we could, age, sex, gut health, activity levels, all of those things would probably impact someone's response to collagen and supplements generally, but we don't have that granular level of information from a research standpoint just yet. But it's a great observation.
Hopefully it'll come. All right, another myth, vegan collagen. Talk to me about that. Is it something that's legit? Is it something that is similar to marine or bovine collagen? What are your thoughts?
True collagen can only come from animal sources. And there are quite a few products on the market that say vegan collagen. And sometimes they're either just products that have things like vitamin C in there to boost collagen production, or perhaps even they go a step further and they might include the individual amino acids like glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline that are involved in collagen production. And it's not that it's not going to do anything, but it's not going to behave like those collagen peptides would in the body. It's just going to behave as amino acids. And the clinical research is significantly less reliable. There's a couple of brands out there with collagen, with vegan collagen that have conducted clinical studies. But when we look at the breadth and depth of research available on animal-based collagen, it just doesn't compare. So in my opinion, if you're looking for a collagen supplement, go with something that's been clinically proven and validated in the science that's actually collagen.
Okay. Other myths that are out there that you've heard that you'd like to debunk today?
I think the other one that I wanted to touch on is around collagen being a source of protein.
Okay.
Because collagen is not really an effective source of protein because it's an incomplete protein. So I would suggest not thinking about collagen as a source of protein, and more around something that you use as a targeted therapy or treatment for what you're trying to support, rather than a source of protein. You're better off having something like a whey protein or whole food sources of protein rather than collagen.
So we can't then factor that in as helping to prevent something like sarcopenia, the age-related muscle loss. Does collagen would not play a role in supporting that?
Oh, not that it wouldn't play a role, but I wouldn't be using that as the primary treatment. So there's nothing can beat resistance training and getting proper protein intake, again, through whole foods, or if you need to supplement the diet, a whey protein, something that's really going to help to support muscle protein synthesis and maintain and preserve as much lean muscle as possible. There have been studies that have shown that collagen supplementation in conjunction with resistance training in people with sarcopenia was beneficial, but I wouldn't use that in place of a complete protein like a whey protein, for example. I think someone will see much better results when it comes to muscle synthesis.
Yeah. Okay. We chatted earlier about how collagen depletes as we age. How does stress or sleep impact collagen breakdown at all?
It has a pretty big impact on accelerating collagen degradation, actually. Both of those factors do in different ways. So let's start with stress, something that maybe we can all relate to.
Yeah, I think so.
When we're feeling quite stressed, and particularly if that stress is chronic, and we have a chronic elevation of cortisol that's happening very often, cortisol actually increases the production of those enzymes that we have in the body that breaks collagen down. So having high stress chronically will actually accelerate aging by degrading collagen further.
And so doing things like breath work, trying to manage our cortisol levels, trying to ensure that we're reducing our stress levels would assumedly support perhaps preventing that collagen breakdown if we're trying to get our stress levels under control.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that we can do to manage stress is going to have great benefits to our health overall, but specifically for collagen, managing cortisol and managing the stress response overall will help to decelerate and preserve as much of our endogenous collagen as we can. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting to know, because it's, to be quite honest, it's not something that I've really consciously thought of, that I need to protect my collagen stores as I get older, because it's just not something. I mean, sure, you look at yourself in your mirror and you can see the lines and the jowls coming, as particularly once you hit perimenopause and menopause, but it never occurred to me that it might be as a result of me not managing my stress effectively, that perhaps that people would age, the signs of aging on your face might be more prominent as a result of not managing stress or sleep effectively throughout your lifetime.
Yeah, it's a factor for sure. There's lots of different lifestyle factors that play into that. Stress is definitely a big one. Sleep, as you mentioned, the state of low grade inflammation will increase if we're not getting sufficient sleep or the quality is poor. Then outside of those factors, if we're just thinking about lifestyle factors more broadly, you know, if anyone in the audience is using smoking or alcohol to try and manage their stress, potentially those factors will absolutely accelerate collagen loss and premature collagen degradation. And then even dietary factors as well, like advanced glycation end products, just high fat foods, processed foods, excess sugar. All of those things surprisingly have impacts on collagen integrity, and they can stiffen and harden the collagen over time, or disrupt the collagen cross-links, which damages the integrity of collagen as well. So maintaining a good lifestyle is not only good for your health and longevity, but for the quality of your collagen as well.
For those that don't know what it means, can you explain what the glycation effect is?
Yeah, so glycation is a chemical reaction that happens in the body with the Maillard reaction. So when a protein, or reducing sugar and protein, there's a reaction that then results in what's called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. And AGEs are implicated in multiple chronic diseases that we see diabetes, heart disease, even Alzheimer's disease to a degree. But they also impact our collagen integrity. They stiffen the collagen and they also degrade the collagen crosslinks as well. So to minimize the production of AGEs, we can think about how we're cooking our foods. So cooking methods with high heat, like frying or baking at high temperatures, can lead to the production of more AGEs, whereas boiling and steaming are better. And then just the quality, the nutritional quality of the food itself. So fried, high-fat foods will result in more AGEs. For example, a high sugar diet will result in more AGEs. So again, just eating balanced, nutritional, Mediterranean-style diet will help to reduce your AGE load from a nutritional standpoint.
Okay, good to know. Are there any emerging ingredients or technologies that could take collagen supplementation to the next level?
Well, I think first and foremost, what I'm really excited about is from a Vida Glow standpoint, our tri-peptide collagen. And I think this is the one that you've been trying, Azra.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because we've spoken so much about tri-peptides today. And this product for me is really, it kind of represents the next generation of collagen supplementation, collagen 2.0, because right now, collagen products don't have concentrated levels of tri-peptides. We're relying on the body to do that process itself, whereas we've concentrated that and put that into a product now, which no one else on the market is doing. So I think we're really at the forefront when it comes to collagen innovation. But outside of that, there's some really interesting, if we're just talking about ingredients specifically, I think there's some really interesting research happening in the space of postbiotics. Postbiotics are byproducts produced by bacteria in our body that can have biological effects. So there's some interesting studies happening using postbiotics, demonstrating some really interesting impacts to skin health and even complementary effects to collagen production. And also just around the conversation of peptides as well. There's a lot of buzz about peptides at the moment, particularly in the biohacking and longevity space. And I can see some really exciting research happening in the skin arena specifically. And I think that really targeted precision peptides for skin longevity are going to be a really big emerging category in the next 2 to 3 years.
I think there's going to be a lot of women out there that will be very excited by that.
My.
Yeah. Well, you've got great skin. If you could redesign how people think, though, about beauty from within, what would you change? And what's next for Vida Glow?
If I could change one thing, I would really encourage people to start thinking about their skin from a health span perspective. I think historically and understandably, our skin and beauty products are, we like aesthetics, we like vanity, we like to look good, but the skin is really an incredibly important marker of our cellular, metabolic, and hormonal health. It's kind of like our scorecard, really. It gives us a pretty good indication as to what's going on in our bodies generally. So rather than just looking at the skin from an aesthetic perspective, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, I would really encourage people to take a systems biology approach and think about how improving and optimizing their health is incredibly important for their skin and how they look on the outside.
I love that, because I think that is really important advice, because it's a holistic lens, it's a holistic view of overall health, and it's not just about how you look, because we know that what's going on inside, as you said, it shows on the scorecard, which is our skin on the outside.
Yeah.
One more question for you, which I ask all guests. What does it mean to you to live well longer?
For me, and I've said this a couple of times already, I want to be able to live my best, fullest life right up until my last decade. It's really, really important for me to maintain my independence and functionality and mobility so that I can do all of the things that I love. So for me, that means moving my body every single day, eating really well, training so that I can be strong well into my later years. I think just moving, social connection, and just doing things that bring you joy.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Look, Lauren, it's been a delight to really lift the lid on collagen today, because I think that so many of us just look at collagen as something that's for our skin. So it's really been great to get your insights into what the real deal is with collagen and what's happening with the research and what we can look forward to in coming up in this space. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's a wrap for today's podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to learn more about biohacking, go ahead and sign up on my website at www.biohack-her.com to get a free copy of my 5 top biohacks to get you kick-started. While you're there, you can also check out my blog page for more tips on biohacking. If you'd like to subscribe to this podcast, you can do so on Apple, Spotify, and Google Play. Let us know if there's anyone you'd like us to talk to in particular, and we'll endeavour to get them on the podcast. Until next time, remember to live well longer.